Hi, we're going to be going over the Building Java Programs book, Chapter 7, which is about arrays, self-check number 19 called Reference Mystery. And I would definitely recommend that when you do a problem like these mystery problems, you have a little scratch pad here to really follow along closely as to what's happening here. So this program is going to produce 4 lines of output, and you have to figure out what the output's going to be. So we're going to go through this line by line. So first, we've got a variable int x equals 0. That's the way it's going to start. Then we are creating an array A, and it's going to have 4 elements. Okay, so we're going to put 3 commas there. And actually, let's go ahead and initialize them all to 0, because that's the way all arrays are always going to be initialized to 0. So there's 4 elements, and then immediately we increment x, so x becomes 1 now. And now we call mystery, and I'm going to give a completely separate array, because when you make a function call, it's going to pass in the values of x and a, but they become completely new local variables to this method down here. So let's go ahead and just go all the way down here. So now we've got a new variable x, and we've got a new array a. And these actually have nothing to do with these ones here, okay? Just so happens that in this first call, they call it with x, so it figures out x is 1. It doesn't pass x, it actually passes the value 1, okay? And then a as the parameter. But here is where it differs, okay? So when we passed in x, it's completely separate x down here, okay? But when we pass in a, it doesn't copy these elements here. It instead refers, and I wish I had a good way to do it in Notepad, but I don't, okay? I'm just going to say pointer to a above, okay? In memory, that's literally kind of what it does. It creates a memory address pointing to this other thing up here, okay? So when we execute mystery now, x++ increments this x to 2. That has nothing to do with this x up here. And then a of x, so x is 2, so a of 2 gets incremented. But because a is actually pointing to this a up here, 0, 1, 2, a of 2 is this item, which gets incremented. Then it prints out. What is it going to print out? So the first thing it's going to print out, it's going to print out x, which is 2. Then it's going to print the arrays.toString of a. So it's going to print out 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay, that's the first thing it's going to print out. And let me put this a little bit farther down. All right, so then it returns up here. And now it's going to print x. But this x is actually this x up here. So x is 1. Then it's going to print the arrays.toString of a, which is again this thing right there. I'm going to go ahead and replace that here. Okay, then increments x, so x becomes 2, then calls mystery of 2 and a. Okay, so I'm going to, x becomes 2 again, and a is still the pointer to above. Okay, so we execute here. X gets incremented to 3, but that has nothing to do with this one up here. Okay, a of 3 gets incremented, and again, a is actually this one up here, 0, 1, 2, 3. So that becomes that. Then we print out x, which is now 3, and that array. Then it returns, and finally we come down to here, and it's going to print this x. This x is up here, so it's now going to print 2, and then that same value of a. So that's what's going on. The main thing that I want you to learn is reference semantics, okay? So whereas when I pass in a value to mystery for x, that value is completely different than the value up here. And the authors are intentionally using the name x to try to confuse you. This could be named y, z, pdq, it doesn't matter, okay? It's completely different than the variable that's up here. Whereas when you pass in A is passed by reference semantics, which means that even though there is a local variable here that's set up for A, and again, this didn't need to be called A, it could have been B, C, D, P, D, Q, doesn't matter. This is a memory address that points it to up here, okay? So whenever you modify A, it's modifying this one back here. But whenever you modify X, it's not touching anything up here. It's just modifying this local here. So this integer by itself, this is what we call value semantics. We're passing by value. Whereas this array here is actually passed by reference, which means you can, when you call a method with a array, you can actually affect its caller, okay? Because it'll see that result when it comes back. So that's what's going on here. What we've learned here is all about reference semantics. And remember that when you pass in an array, you can modify the array. And when you come back, you can see those changes, okay? Which is a good thing, usually, sometimes a bad thing, okay? All right, so if you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. I have a complete curriculum on building Java programs with a lot of these practice it programs.